So finally, in this week's episode, the Titans actually team up and come together and show off their crazy abilities, but it looks like the nuclear family weren't far behind them. Let's talk about Titans Season 1, Episode 5 together. What is up, Titans? Welcome back to a brand new review and breakdown of Season 1, Episode 5, titled Together. And this episode title couldn't be more perfect because finally, after, well, I say finally as if it's taken freaking ages, but we have had over the past 5 episodes various Titan members meeting each other, like, Dick Grayson and Raven, and then eventually Starfire came into the mix. And then we had Beastboy and the Doom Patrol. Amazing episode last week. And how does this episode compare to that? Well, this episode finally brought them all together. And it's not like a massive bunch happened, kind of like last week's episode, but it did definitely finally bring us something that we've all been waiting for, and that's everyone to finally get together and move on from this point out in the series. And my god, were they all really badass together, especially the ending of this episode. That fight scene was just flipping amazing. But of course, guys, before I break down this episode, if you want to see more Titans videos just like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and maybe take a second of your time to hit that like button, as it really does help this video get out there. So the beginning of this episode picked up from what we actually saw in one of the trailers a while back, in how Gar said to Robin that he traded in his Porsche that he got from Bruce/Batman for a minivan. So that is the squad car now, is literally kind of like a minivan that they're rolling around in. And more than ever in this episode, something that I've kept hearing from lots of other people out there, it definitely feels that this series was designed to feel like it's to be binged. For example, like a series like Daredevil or something like that. Netflix usually drops all those episodes at once, and now more than ever, especially in this episode, it was just right after the episode before that. And I think Doom Patrol picked up right after the episode before that as well. So I think maybe they were planning on dropping it all at once maybe, and for some reason they changed their mind, which I'm grateful for because I actually prefer weekly releases. It gives us something to talk about every week, but maybe they might change up the pacing as of between episode to episode next season, because it definitely feels like there's not a whole bunch happening in between episodes or anything like that. It's more or less one continuous story to the point of minutes or even a few hours between episodes, if that. But straight away in this episode, everyone, we had the Titans already forming in that hotel room. It made me laugh where everyone was kind of taking the piss out of Dick for saying like, oh, this is mission critical. And how he was basically pointing out something quite important though. They are on the run from the nuclear family. And they are very, very coordinated in their attacks, and thus the Titans, the team, need to be coordinated in theirs, which brought around, the idea of, showing off each other's abilities in this episode, which is something I think we've seen in mainly every trailer, and something that I've been looking forward to seeing in that warehousey scene we got in this episode. But whether I missed this or not, how did they, fair enough, they were at that hotel. Did they just go to this random, farm with the tractor in it and just, use it as a training ground nearby? I don't know. It just seemed random how they got to that place. Now, I thought this scene was really, really cool. It definitely explains each character and their powers to all the newbies out there who may not have been familiar ever with people like Gar/Beastboy, Starfire, Raven. I think they really spelt it out to the audience with Starfire's powers, for example, how she said, that she gets her powers from the sun, she absorbs the energy and, thus directs it with those blasts. She even mentioned how obviously she would be weaker at night, and even to a recharge time being up to a day or so, which we actually even saw later on in the episode, which was really cool. And, that made it actually a problem for Starfire's character when they were at that hotel fight scene. She obviously tried to use her powers, but she was completely out of juice. I loved everyone's reactions to Beastboy. That was pretty funny. Even Robin was just like, oh shit, that would be pretty mad if you saw a tiger, a guy just morph into a tiger. And I have to admit, for another quite daylight scene, the CGI was pretty good on Beast Boy's tiger. It was really, really good last episode in Doom Patrol. Now with Rachel, I can completely understand why she didn't want to demonstrate her power straight away, because she was just like, I'm gonna hurt everyone. But they were kind of like, I wouldn't say peer pressuring her, but they're like, oh come on, we need to see what each other can do. And I thought, I don't know if this was a dumb move or not, because considering what Rachel was like in the Doom Patrol episode and how she opened that freaking interdimensional portal up, so it seemed, when her demon side took over. It is a bit risky tapping into that now, but I guess they do need to learn to train their powers, and that is the point of this scene from Dick's perspective. And I guess you could argue in the Doom Patrol scene, the reason why her demonic side got that riled up is because of what the chief was going to do to her, that procedure, whereas this scene is just more showing off the powers, so maybe she wouldn't get out of control as much. But, you know, she did actually end up getting a little bit out of control. The typical, what I like to call Death Eater smoke, you know, just came out of her, and then even Starfire had to blast it, and, you know, it's quite cool how her powers completely, you know, made the demonic side of Raven scream, and, you know, put that side away from her and made her kind of chill out. So, you know, at least we know if anything goes wrong in this series with Raven again, maybe Corey can help out with that. And then it came around to Dick Grayson. It's like, what can you do, man? You've seen our powers. It's like, I could keep you alive. But no, really, like, as I'll mention later towards the end of this breakdown, the Titans do actually get to see what Robin can do later on. Well, that is the reveal that he is Robin, but my God, does he put on probably and arguably the best show out of all of them in that training scene at the hotel scene in the end. Now, I really like this part of the episode because it gave us quite a bit of clarification in terms of what the nuclear family are in this iteration of, you know, this show compared to the comics. So this saw Dr. Adamson, the insane, probably, you know, one of the members of probably the Church of Blood, picking up, well, from what we learned of last episode, that they needed a new dad, right? They needed a new dad for the nuclear family after Starfire, in fact, fried the heck out of him. Now, in Agnew's asylum, this is where they seem to have this program where they're converting people into, like, you know, members of, like, the nuclear family, or essentially brainwashed people. Now, in the comics, they are actually, like, robots or androids, whatever word you would like to use. And I'm not going to be like, oh, I called it, but, you know, I did say towards the end, towards the beginning of Titans and everything like that, I thought that maybe from what we saw of the nuclear family very early on, they might not actually be full robotics, like cybernetics in them. They might be maybe a little bit of both. I've always thought the fact that they had to inject themselves with what, you know, this episode, the father called vitamins, which I'm guessing is their strength enhancer, you know, it was a bit questionable as well. And it turns out I was right, actually. It turns out they are actually human brainwashed people. I'm guessing given strength enhancers, but the main point of these people is that they're completely brainwashed to do whatever their leader or, you know, commander wants them to do, which is obviously get Rachel Roth. However, though, what I really loved about what they've done with the nuclear family in Titans here is the fact that they've made them basically not robots, but they're still quite robotic. For example, when, like, Robin was fighting them and how he was, like, breaking their shoulders or, like, their arms and stuff, or their head, the way their heads were twisting, that was just like they were at the same time robots. You know, they were getting twisted and then going back like that. And I'm guessing the fact that they're human, and you might be like, Boba, how can they survive this? That is probably because of the strength stuff that they're injecting into themselves can allow them to sustain such damage. I mean, it must be the only reason, because other than that, they are quite evidently humans. I've also mentioned this for the past couple of episodes as well, but I really like Gar and Rachel together. As Starfire said herself, like, they're really cute together. They're all quite age different. I mean, well, you have Robin and Corey, who I'm guessing are similar ages, and then you have Gar and Rachel, who are in more or less the same age group as well. And that makes for a nice kind of dynamic, like, you know, Dick Grayson and Corey / Starfire are like the parental figures of the group, and then you have Gar and Rachel as the younger kind of kids, but who are, you know, badass enough to look after themselves. But we did see Dick Grayson and Starfire get it on, like we thought we would see from the trailers. We saw them kiss. Now, I know they have been romantically involved in the comics, and I don't really think I have anything against this scene, because, you know, like, we're all humans, and, like, this would be arguably something that would happen. I just guess that it was just a bit like, oh, okay, and that moment when he was just like, oh, I can't get your boots off, it's like, keep him on. I don't really have too much more to say about this. You could say it was a little bit cringy, but at the same time, I think it works. At the same time with, you know, Starfire and, like, the way her character is as well. I also just like the, like, noobiness of Starfire in this episode, you know, when she even went to get that tequila beforehand. I don't think she just tipped that store lady. She just gave her $100 bill because she doesn't know the value of money. And that lady was just shook, like, oh my God, I just literally sold this for $100. But it was interesting to see, like, Corey's reaction afterwards, that when they were, like, saying, oh, you know, talking about what they just did. And Dick was just, like, completely distant from that. Now, that isn't completely unusual, but I feel maybe Corey was expecting, I don't think they were expecting a massive bond right away, but it definitely did feel a bit cold, like the cold shoulder from Dick Grayson. And it kind of reminded me a bit of like Bruce Wayne, if you will. And you'll know what I kind of mean by like saying Batman there, like very monotone, just like, you know, okay, back to the mission. Because Dick was just like, oh, I'm going to do one more scan of the perimeter and blah, 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 blah. And Corey's just like, oh, wait to kill a mood kind of thing, right? But this led to arguably, I think, one of the best fight scenes we've had in the show so far. I've just written down on my notes, fight scene so on point, so good. It was, I thought it'd be, okay, Dick Grayson, you know, fighting off the nuclear family in that room. And I remember from the trailer, they ended up in the parking lot of the hotel. But I just didn't expect it to be as grand and amazing as it was between all of the characters. And I don't know why I didn't think that, because this episode is called Together. They were teaming up. They were showing off each other's powers. And this really is that moment when they solidify all of that. It was just so good. Starfire's warrior-like combat was brilliant. Even though she was out of juice a little bit later on from that, she was still badass before that. I absolutely love when Gar saw, and Rachel saw, you know, Dick Grayson as Robin, like, because they didn't actually know that up until this point. And Gar, like, throughout the episode is made, even though he's like an intimidating tiger, right, he's never bitten someone. He's never so much as killed someone, let alone bit someone. So I wouldn't say he's a scaredy cat, but they definitely did want to put off to the audience that, okay, like, you know, even Starfire was like, run away, Gar, run, Gar. Like, so he was just going to run away, even though this guy could probably do a lot, right? So that really cool cinematic badass like standing up hero moment when Robin just came into the parking lot and Gar saw him. I just love how he's inspired. Like, he could have run away, so could have Rachel, but Gar was just like, right, no, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to get involved. So he transformed into the tiger and he flipped that guy over as well. It was just so cool seeing that. And then Raven was just like, screw it, I'm going to get involved as well. And then she was just freaking swag with her Death Eater freaking missed, if you know what I mean. But ultimately, this scene just nicely tied up what I was talking about in the team up scene earlier when Gar asked what Robin could do. Now the Titans can finally see what he can do. Now, when the nuclear family were all tied up, this was quite an interesting scene because Robin wasn't like going mad or anything like that. It was even like Corey, like they swapped roles just like last episode again. Corey went up to him and was like, oh, I've had enough of this. I guess she was just gonna maybe sizzle their shoulders with her hands or something like that, interrogate some news out of them. But it was logical at the same time. Robin was just like, you know, I've seen this kind of stuff before in Gotham, brainwashing, and you could think of a million examples for that. So he knew no matter what they did to them, these people are just kind of humans and like they're brainwashed, so they're never going to give up anything no matter kind of what you do to them. And that is when, just like Suicide Squad, the heads got blown off. Starfire cracked a little joke like, god damn, like Dick's going to think that this was me. I feel like this series is going above and beyond everyone's expectations. Obviously not every single episode either has been like top notch amazing. Like no episode in every single season is like that all the time. But like, for example, Doom Patrol was great. Last week's episode, this episode was great, even though there wasn't a massive leap forward full of stuff. Now, leading into the next episode, Dick Grayson did go to find Dr. Adamson at the end, and it was pretty much like both their time was up. Because the organization, which is probably like the Church of Blood, right, dedicated to bringing Trigon back, were coming after them because, you know, even that old lady was in on it and probably alerted those SWAT-like guys to come after Dick Grayson and Dr. Adamson. But that is when we got our introduction into the new Robin, Jason Todd, who will be coming full swing next episode, and I can't wait for that. So if any of you are fans of Jason Todd, or if you prefer Jason Todd over Dick Grayson, this is your episode next week. But other than that, can you guess what I'm going to say? I just hope they can keep up this momentum. If they do, it's just going to be a solid all-round series for me. So excited for the next episode and so excited for the rest of the series to come. Let me know your thoughts on everything I talked about in today's video about the episode, and let me know if you think that I missed anything crucial out that you would have liked for me to talk about, and I'll try and get back to you. But I'm sure you guys have loads and loads of opinions about what went down in today's episode and what you think is going to come out of next week's. But other than that, guys, subscribe to this channel for more Titans videos just like this. Leave a like on it if you did enjoy it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Titans in the next video. Goodbye.